Hey guys, Nina Zapala here. This is a place we talk about personality typing from spiritual understanding. Last week on the blog, I was talking about trust in relation to personality traits, specifically your decision-making traits of thinking, feeling, both extroverted and introverted. So if you haven't checked that out, I'll put the link in the description box below and you can get into that. Today, I really want to explore the topic more from a spiritual standpoint. You know, if I'm talking about personality typing with a spiritual understanding, there are two aspects of this. So one actually is your personality type, your mind, your ego, the fears, everything that's related into the physical world. Well, your beingness stems from your eternal being, the part of you that never really dies. Okay, so that's more your non-physical self. And that's where all the wonderful surprises in life, the serendipitous things, you trusting your gut instincts, your intuitions, those come into play. So with that said, trust becomes a different ballgame when you look at it from, a spiritual realm. So let's get into that. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the inevitable aspect of change. And I look, and how I speak to it on the blog is I look at it from the standpoint of Mother Nature. If we look at Mother Nature, there's always seasons of change. But when you watch and you observe Mother Nature, they come in very slowly. They're almost massaged into your life, right? They flow in. They're lively, they're full of color, and they're textural, and they come in with ease. So for us, we don't really do that, do we? When we see change and trust go together like a match made in heaven, pun intended. But when we see change, we're conditioned to see that change is not good. It's negative. Oh my God, change. That means my life's going to become a shit show. No, it doesn't really mean that. I like to look at the word change as a nourishing aspect of you. Change brings in an energy of refreshment. So it refreshes your life. And we are no different than Gaia, Mother Nature, Mother Earth. We are part of Gaia. We're part of Mother Nature. We wouldn't be here without Mother Nature. I mean, Mother Nature sustains us in every way, through our food, through the air we breathe, through water, everything. So if we're a part of that, we reflect in that. So that's why I want us to start looking at the seasons of change in our lives from a more positive, earthly way, if that makes sense. And when I say that, I mean it comes into more flow. It's more accepting. You just know that one goes into the other, like spring goes into summer, summer goes into fall, and fall goes into winter. It's just the circle of life. It's the center of it all, right? If you look at that, it's just one big circle. So saying that, that's where I want to kind of help us start shifting perceptions into that manner and start, let's move away from the conditioned aspects that society bring us. I'm going to walk here a little bit because my phone, for some reason, this Apple phone is just not letting me press my video button down. So I'm going to be moving a little bit. So I hope I don't make you dizzy. Anyway, so when we look at that, we're looking at change from a more positive mindset. Think of it as nourishment. Think of it as a new energy that refreshes you, that brings you something new in your life. So many of us don't want to change. We grip, we hold on so tight. I don't want to change. I know I did it. I did it. And the only way I can speak of this is because I've gone through so many of the things I speak of on these videos. But I know for me, I was gripping so tight in what I had and what I thought I wanted and needed that the grip was actually strangling me. And when you grip something so tight, you have a closed fist. So that means you're not ready to receive. I know. So that's a little bit, if you think of just from that symbolism. So when you open your fist, you get ready to receive. And then if you trust yourself, and that's going back into your personality typing too, you know how you make decisions, right? So you have that already, you already have that down. Where the trust comes from a spiritual standpoint is you have to start enabling yourself to realize divine messaging. You have to hear the messages, right? You have to hear what the messages are trying to tell you. Because if we just rely on our personality type, our minds, which, let's face it, it's thoughts. It's just recycled thoughts that we do over and over and over. Oh my God, how many times do we think the same thought? Probably in our lifetime, millions of times. So we want to start getting messages from divine intelligence. That is the only way that we can take inspired actions. Because when you start receiving messages from divine intelligence, those messages are wrapped in love and joy and happiness and manifestations and abundance and health and peace and calm and all the good things, all the opposite of fear. So if we're sitting there gripped in fear, your divine spark within, your divine consciousness, your Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, can't speak to you because it doesn't communicate through fear. It only communicates through love. So see, it's so important to embrace the spiritual aspect of trust too. Because without trusting your spiritual messages, you're bound to take and make mistakes, which is okay. It's all a learning thing. But why not skip the mistake a little bit? Like me. 7 years it took me to figure this stuff out, right? But that's okay, because that was my journey. That was my soul path. We all have different journeys. We all have different souls. We're all going to make different mistakes. So you can't judge, and you certainly can't compare yourself to someone else, right? So I know this is all about trust, though, too. You have to trust that you are an individual soul here on the planet for an individual mission. It's not like you're a singular planet. You're not. You are a person that cooperates with the whole and collective. You just have your own way of doing it, which makes it so special, right? Here's another thing I want to tell you, and it's just my story about divine timing. Is I told you last week, I was like, oh, I got this message. I was so excited. I was going to go do some traveling, blah, blah, blah. And then I started doubting. I was like, something's up. Something like I'm not trusting this. Why aren't I trusting this? So I kept on praying. So I didn't get an answer. So when I don't get an answer, I don't move. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe something else came up. And then a friend of mine said, oh yeah, I want to do this. This will be so fun. I was like, yay, see how divine timing works. And then that fell through. And I was like, okay, still not the same time. And this is the thing. You have to just really trust divine timing. And so just today, believe it or not, I ran into a friend of mine, and we were talking. I said, oh God, I really want to go over there. I want to check this out, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, stay in my condo. I'm like, what? Okay, so not only am I skipping all the Airbnbs and hotels stuff, she's like, no, just stay in my condo for free. Oh my God. So see, divine timing. It all works out the way it's supposed to work out, right? And then she knows all these people. She knows the area really good. So we're going to have a blast. So, but if I didn't trust that, I would have already been on the road. I wouldn't have made contact with her. I would have been staying somewhere, which I'm not really big into like being in an Airbnb. That's just my own. I know there's my own stuff. I like my space. I like my stuff. It's because I had a really bad experience, but I don't have to go into that because that's negative, and it's just something that happened to me, and I need to get over it because none of the experiences are going to be bad. See, I got to trust that my next experience is going to be awesome. Anywho, let's get back to the divine inspiration, though. Divine timing was that the timing was perfect. Now, if I just trusted my ego self and myself, go, no, I'm just going to do it. I'm good, because that's what your ego sounds like. It's more pushy. It's more like you have to. I know better. I know better than, your divine consciousness, which is never the truth. Never the truth, right? So that was a really cool story, and I wanted to share that with you because that's how this stuff works, man. It works. Now, I had plans that fell through twice, right? But I still had to trust. I didn't take action. I did not take action. Now I'm taking action because I know everything just fell together. See how that flows? And it goes back to that Mother Nature thing, right? And I'm going to go into something else I talk about on the blog too. It's like taking action. Trust is actionable. It's not latent. It's not passive. Okay? Trust is very much, when you think of trust, you usually, when does trust come up? When do trust issues come up? You have to trust somebody. You're making a decision. You're trusting on somebody that they're giving you the right advice, or that they're going to be there for you, blah, 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 blah. So trust is more about taking action than just, yes, it's a belief, but it's an actionable belief, if that makes sense. Now, I know going through my 7-year tsunami, I was so afraid. I was so stuck in fear and the chaos and the confusion of it all. I mean, my life changed on a dime. Everything about my life. My life was about death, confusion, and loss at that time. It's seriously what it was about. And so I'm going to give you a tip. If you're in that kind of space, don't take action. I mean, that's my advice. Because you're in a place where it's too it's like I say in the blog, I was so lost in the fog, I couldn't see if I was coming or going. The confusion was so deep. The chaos was so deep. I couldn't see. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see where I was going, where I came from, and I couldn't see anything. I was so lost. And so I was, in that blame thing. Oh, this is it. They did this, and that didn't get me anywhere. I did that for like 2 years. I know a lot of people do that, but it just didn't get me anywhere, right? So what ended up happening is I kind of started realizing that this isn't working, Nina, and you're not getting anywhere. And you're just sitting in this place of fog. It's like a fog bank that just is like a gray cloud that was over my head. And so it was at that time I started a morning meditation, morning practice where, I'm always kind of good in the morning. I've always had dogs. I've always walked the dogs. I'm always out in nature. But my mind wasn't still. I was still churning. So I started a morning practice. I was reading spiritual text. I was meditating, doing some yoga. I just really amped up my mornings. And I started getting messages because I was quieting my mind. The fog started to lift. And it was at that time I was directed, because I was letting the fear go so love could come in. So that's when my divine consciousness, that beautiful spark that's within all of us, we all have a spark of divine consciousness that shines so bright, it can't wait to get out. That started illuminating things for me. I started taking small actions. And when you start taking small actions, when things become actionable, you start trusting because you're seeing outcomes. Now, not all the outcomes I took were right, but at least I was taking a step forward. I wasn't still stuck. The grip of my hand left. I was open to taking actions. And when I really started trusting those divine messages, things just fell into place. I mean, you would, just like I was telling you about that divine timing, things just seem right. They fall into place. You get help from the most unexpected people. I mean, I was working with a large government entity that was on my ass bad. And I got directed through the entity to take these steps. I wrote them all down because I was directed to write them all down. And the advice I got worked. And the person that I was working with, the professional I was working with, she said, "I never heard of this before." I'm like, "Just do it. I was told to do it. Just do it. Just, what do we have to lose? Just try it." And she did, and it worked. Here again, it took 3 or 4 times. I had to keep on, you have to do the work. I mean, you can't just go, "Oh, this didn't work." No, it's going to work. I was told it was going to work. It's going to work. And it did. And oh my God, that was such a miracle for me. Just one of the many miracles that happened. So see, when you start taking action, seeing trust is actionable, you don't have to take gigantic steps. Take small steps. Start trusting yourself. But first, make sure that divine spark within you is lit up. It's illuminated. And how do you get there? You get there from not being in fear. You have to know that you're powerful beyond so much. We just don't know that here. We're not told we're powerful. We're told to get it done, do this, get a job, live in a cubicle. I firmly believe that's why so many people, something like 93% of people want to change something about their personality types. I constantly say, don't change yourself, find yourself. And I believe why so much of us want to change something is that divine spark within is beating its head against the walls that we've put up. We've been conditioned by fear, and it's clamoring to get out. So there's always this uneasiness. You need to release that. Embrace that spark that's within you. We each have a mission here. Every single person. Every single person on the planet. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. Right? I don't care if you're flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. I don't care. That has no relevance to me. Because if you're flipping hamburgers at McDonald's and you're happy and your energy is love, and I come in and I get a hamburger, guess what I'm going to feel? I'm going to feel your love energy. It changes the world. It changes the world. Your energy changes the world. Now, of course, these are my beliefs. Take what you want and leave the rest. But I so believe that. And I know you've felt that before. You've gone into a room and it's like, man, the energy in here is intense. You just want to get out. How many people have you been in a meeting like that where your boss is just in a really crappy mood? And you sit down and you're like, oh, this is going to be a long meeting. It's their energy. You can feel it. Right? And since this world is so chaotic, you gotta trust yourself. Nobody's here to save you. I'm telling you. No one's here to save you. You're here to save you. You have to become self-sufficient, self-reliant. And one of the ways of doing that is you gotta find yourself, you gotta trust yourself, and you need to believe that you have an aspect within you, that divine consciousness that's here to work with you, to bring joy and abundance, miracles, surprises, love, relationships, your best life here with you now. That's how you create heaven on earth. I know it doesn't look like it right now. It's a shit show. But that's okay. We all need to see that because, one of the things is, you don't know what you know until you see it and experience it, right? And that was my whole journey for my 7-year life tsunami. I didn't know. I'm not going to beat myself up. I just didn't know. I didn't trust myself. I do now, much more so. I'm still learning. I'm always going to learn. I'm human. I know my beingness, that spark of divine intelligence, is here to guide me. So I trust myself. And when you can trust the decisions that you're making, your life becomes smoother. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. Of course you will. No one's perfect. No one is perfect. That's a man-made construct. So, I know. I love this stuff. Can you tell? I get so excited. So I want you to trust yourself. I want you to find yourself. Please don't change yourself. You're beautiful souls. You do not need to change. You need to find yourself. You need to figure out all the good stuff that you came here to do, of course. Your purpose, your passions, what you want to share with the world, what you want to contribute. You want to leave that legacy mark. Which brings me to my last point. When you trust yourself, you make decisions that impact your destiny. That's legacy living. So the first 2 years, I always make decisions that were going to just keep me stuck in that same shitty place. Until I woke up and said, Nina, you can't do this. You know better. You can't do this. Now cut that out. And so slowly I had to develop different habits, different ways of being in the world. More meditation, more yoga, more quiet walking, longer walks. I had to change something. And doing that changed the destiny, changed the trajectory of my life. I'm telling you. Change can be nourishing. And that nourishment brings you a fresh energy, a fresh perspective. It's important. So if you're not sure, if you're not trusting yourself and you're like, that's fine, I did it, who cares? But really start thinking about, okay, if I do this, what's the outcome? And don't think about it. as much as pray about it or meditate on it and journal on it, which there's journal prompts, yay! There's journal prompts in the blog. So I've asked some questions for you to start thinking about this. But we don't want to think too much, because thinking goes to those old thoughts I talk about. You want the messages, the creative messages, the co-creative messages that are coming from divine intelligence. So you don't really need to think as much. You just need to download them and then start taking inspired actions. Okay, guys. Love you so much. We'll talk soon. Enjoy all the journal prompts. I'll leave some links in the description. If you like this and it's resonating with you and you think somebody could use this message, please share this. Please subscribe. I want to keep on doing this. I love it so much. And I always say, one person that's aligned with their human beingness, their mind and their soul, their true self, is more powerful than the million that aren't. Are you that one person? Let's get you in alignment. We need you now. Love you all so much. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next week. All for now. Bye-bye.